So, but when they are here, it's like they are not living it. So, if we see you people doing it, living it, so it will help us to watch it. So when we start, I will bring a suggestion after we see how it can work.
Yeah, I'll also have a suggestion. All right, so, well, what I've been learning so far from this was that there's apparently a fixed formula for funerary stele when you're doing a blessed dead character or formula. And some of those characters have changed a little bit from the 11th dynasty to the early 12th dynasty and beyond the 12th dynasty. But some of them changed a lot, some a little. But these funerary steles indicate that a person has successfully completed the royal service, and they also had a life of integrity. And so then these things were put there. What I'm not sure about is what the voice offering is. I do know what the bread, the ox, the linen, those kinds of things, and then we wrote down here, we made a list, a voice offering of 1,000 loaves of bread and beer, 1,000 ox and fowl, and 1,000 alabaster and linen. So that's what we just wrote there on the board. But what's unclear to me is what the voice offering is. That the person speaking out loud and blessing the person, or is it an incantation?
It's the person saying that this should be done for that person.
Okay.
Think about when you do a libation, right? You're saying that this should be done, this should be done, this should be done.
Okay.
So everything you said is correct, just in terms of you have the person who has given service to the royal household, and now the ruler is giving something to them. So whether it be a coffin, whether it be whatever it is, they're saying, all right, Katep Dinesu, this is a boon or something that the king, gives. So just as you said, you have Katep Dinesu. Let's come to it. Katep Dinesu. This isn't Jiddu yet.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
who is
Osiris?
this? Exactly. So Asar, what's this? That's
Oh.
Neb.
Okay, Neb.
Translates to the Lord of.
Okay.
So Neb,
Jeddu.
Jeddu, exactly.
Okay.
And remember the Jed, this is the Jed pillar, this is the, this is U. And usually we would expect the determinative to come after, but this is graphic transposition.
Okay.
It won't look nice like that,
Uh-huh.
so we have to stick it out of here.
Okay. I know the one on the end is Abydos, but
This is a very important glyph to know.
Osiris.
It's in the name of the written language.
I don't remember. I just remember the last one was Abydos.
Right. This is Necha. So Necha, which is a great deity.
Netra.
Right? So Necha,
Netra.
Neb,
Neb.
this is Ab. This is a phonetic complement, also Bu. This is Ju, Ab, Ju, which they translate as Abydos. And then this is just a determinative. So when we're looking at this offering formula, just like you said, it's standardized. But what I want us to do, because it's good to see the whole chunk, but I want us to be able to look at what the different parts are, what are the sounds associated with the different parts, what's the meaning associated with the different parts. Now, one thing I came in on the conversation, and I was hearing Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh.
Nesbit? Is that Nesbit? Pharaoh? Nesbit? What word is for Pharaoh?
Nesu.
Nesu.
Right.
Nesu. Nesu.
Right. So that is coming from a mistranslation by the Greeks. So per is house, then Aa is the same Aa that you see there. So per Aa, so that's the Great House. So it would be like saying Downing Street says this, or the White House has issued a statement. So it's, you know, saying that the House is representing the ruler, but of course the indigenous term was Nesu. So again, you know, we have to be very wary of the mistakes that Europeans make, because they'll come to a town and it's called Ukraine, they'll call it Accra.
So when they say per that means house, per
Per by itself is
Oh, per by
house.
itself,
Per.
okay.
Ankh is light, so house of light.
House of light, oh, okay, okay.
So let's show you per.
And Pharaoh is Nebu,
Nesu,
Nesu.
which is what you see up here in the front.
Okay, Nesu.
That by itself is per.
Per, okay.
Right. Now, if you want to say great, you can go like this.
Okay.
This is
Oh,
Aa.
okay.
So per Aa is to say the great house,
Okay. Per.
right?
So the great house of, now why did I just say it and now I just lost it? Abydos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great house.
But no.
No.
So that's not the name for the ruler. That's a mistake.
Gotcha.
That's Greeks making a mistake and not knowing how to call the indigenous ruler.
I
The
see.
indigenous ruler is called Nesu.
Nesu, okay.
But when they say, oh, who lives there? Oh, that's the Pharaoh. That's the great house. Okay, so that's the Pharaoh. That's the Pharaoh, right?
Okay.
So this is a mistake that they have made, and it's similar to even the name of this country, Ghana.
Mhm.
I think we discussed this.
Wagadu?
We discussed this before. So it's like, you know, to what extent do we maintain the mistakes that Eurasians have made in naming, you know, things, right? If it's Ndakaru, why would we say Dakar? Just because they can't pronounce Ndakaru, or what are we doing really?
Senegal, Senegal.
Right?
Ah.
Exactly. Right. So DF, let's give him Heru. So again, that's the voice offering. So what you're saying is that this should be given for that person. Make sure that they have 1,000, you know, loaves of bread. Make sure they have 1,000 oxen. Make sure they have 1,000 and 1,000
And alabaster.
alabaster.
And the snake
Linen.
is what?
That's F. That's him. So DF, give him.
Okay.
Right.
We saw the designation for him and for her, masculine and feminine, and then feminine plural and masculine plural. But I didn't see the snake in there, so I was
Mhm.
confused with the snake. Okay.
So that's F, third person singular. What page?
We were on 40, we started at 34, and now we are on 42,
Oh, you're moving well.
at the top of 42. We're right there where it says monoform, but with royal regalia, and a green or black complexion, alluding to the fertility of the Nile floodplain. So that's where we paused when we came in. At the top of page 42.
Okay, I see. Alright.
Mhm.
Let's go. I want to see what came immediately before this and we'll come back.
Oh, and it was also saying that Osiris is the most common. The other thing I learned was that Osiris in the blessed dead formulae, that Osiris is the most common god that it's being directed to.
Right.
And then aside from there was Anubis, and
Mhm.
then some of the others. But
Right,
Osiris
right.
is the most common one.
Yeah. Alright, so Atep Dinesu, Asir, Neb Jedu, Netra Aa, Neb Amju, is what we just saw here. So DF, that's give to him. Correct, Heru, a voice offering, so that's bread. Incut, that is beer. Ka, that's oxen. Aped, that's bird. Shus, that's alabaster. Menchet, that is the linen. That's what you see right here. Ket, Nebet, Neferet, Wabet, Anket, Netcher, Im. So this is a beautiful formula. So Ket, that is thing. Nebet, every. So thing, every. So this is what we're coming down here to everything.
Okay.
So Ket, Nebet, that's every. Neferet, beautiful. So every beautiful or good.
Pure.
No, that's next.
Oh,
So
sorry.
that's Wabet. So Neferet, it can translate as good, it can translate as beautiful,
Okay.
right? And then Wabet, this is what you see. You can see how it has something to do with purity. It's pouring of water. So picture libation, picture purification. So that's Wabet. That's Anchet. So,
If you can enlarge it or something so
Okay.
that it's off the,
oh, what's on the thing?
yeah.
Anchet, Netcher, Im. So Anchet, this is live, Netcher, which is the deity. That's what we see here. And then Im, this would be by means of. And the way they usually translate this is everything good and pure on which the Netcher lives. Ka, in. And you'll notice that I don't prefer to use the term God. Now, our Mdw Ntr instructor, Mikasa, he gave a lecture. This is actually something that I've had an issue with, one of my pet peeves, many pet peeves, for at least the last 15 or so years. This equal sign between the European concept and the African concept. So remember what Jacob Carruthers said, where he says African champions must break the chain that links African ideas to European ones and listen to the voice of the ancestors without European interpreters. So he gave a lecture called "There Are No Gods in Kemet." So basically, he's look at all the conceptual baggage that the word God has, right? So first, it's a man, usually white, up in the sky, blah blah, like all this insanity that's
Externalized.
exactly all those types of things. But then look at the concept of nature, where it's something that permeates all. You understand? So basically, he's looking at why are we allowing this equal sign to basically obliterate our conception of reality. And this is what we're doing as long as we just say, all right, this equals that. So he's saying, some of these words, we need to not even translate them, say this is nature, right? If we're saying Mdw Ntr, we don't necessarily have to say hieroglyphs, right? Or a hieroglyphic writing system or whatever we want to do.
Or instead of saying Pharaoh, we say Mesut.
Right? Exactly. So all of that is in the same spirit. And I think it's a very key point that, I think we should take away with.
Okay.
So,
That's kind of what you were saying too, about the names, when you said you had a suggestion about the names, the original names that we're using for things, was it?
No, the suggestion I'm talking about going to Senegal and Guinea.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
So ka so to the ka of, right? And again, ka, they usually translate that as soul or ka, spirit. So ka to the ka of ima, right? So this is the revered one. And then ki is the name.
Oh, key is the name, okay, I just wonder what key was. Now, that little line that comes
This
up,
one?
yeah, is that the number one?
No, it's a stroke determinative.
Oh,
And what that is, the same thing you see here in per. It means that what you see is what you get.
oh, okay.
That means it's not just a sound value per, I'm talking about a house.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the per.
Oh, okay.
So here, ka is not just the sound ka that I want you to articulate. I'm talking about a person's ka,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's stroke determinative. Anytime you want to say exactly what you see is what you get, you
And
use a stroke determinative.
The other figure that I had heretofore mistakenly referred to as a feather is not a fair feather. The character is a what?
Flower and reed, this one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
A
the
reed.
flower and reed.
A flowering reed.
Right. And the Egyptian grammar by Gardner, if you go to it, you can, towards the end of it, it has a glossary and a sign list. And if you go to the sign list, it has things categorized based on what they are. So if you go to plants, you would see it there. But then another way of finding it is it has all the vertical, narrow vertical signs, all the low, broad, horizontal signs, the low, short, signs. So even if you just see it like this, you say, okay, it looks tall. You find it there, and then it'll say, it's whatever, whatever. You find it that way. But this is very good. Very, very good. This is we're doing meditation. So voice offering for the ka of. You see here they didn't even translate it as soul, which is hard for non-Africans to do, but yeah. So ka an offering which the king gives. So you've done all your service, and basically you are getting the blessings of that service. Oh, you just won the war, all right? You get a sarcophagus, you get this, you get that, you get this inscribed, and it has the regnal year. It'll have all the different details of what you did. So this is the offering that the king gives to you. So everyone is striving to get all of these, favors. Or one at war, I got the golden flies. I actually saw this in the museum at Wasset, what they call Luxor, and right in the enclosure where where Amos is kept, they have the actual golden flies, which was the highest military honor. So picture somebody who is, beating the enemy like a fly. You try to wipe the fly away, it comes back. Wipe the fly, it comes back. Wipe the fly, comes back. And that's the concept. But these are things that will be given, just like how you have, the presidential medal of this. I was reading about my great grandfather. He received the Knight Commander of the Redemption of Africa. This is in the UNIA, right? So just like how Marcus Garvey was given all these titles, Supreme Potentate, Chancellor, Auditor General, that these are the things that the person, has the prerogative, the ruler has the prerogative to give to those who are serving the nation well.
And so then, when the king did this, then did it say, are we understanding it correctly when it's saying that then this will allow the deceased, the blessed dead, to then partake at the royal feast in the afterlife?
Right.
Is that correct?
So when we're talking about the blessed dead, so this is someone who has attained the level of Asir or Asar, depending on how you articulate it. So if the person is pronounced Ma Keru, then it's seen that this person is an elevated, excellent spirit, and then they go, with all the other excellent spirits. And again, there are other options that can happen if you do not attain that spirit, that level. But what this is actually the sacrifices, the same thing that you see going on in Ghana today, where people pour libations and make sacrifices. This is what we're talking about when we're saying, Parakero, Ha, Te, Inket, Ha, Ape, Ha, Shis, Ha, Menchet. So what you're saying is that you should, I'm doing these sacrifices, 1,000 is for you, 1,000 is for you, 1,000 is, and then on the person's own, burial tomb, or, the surface of their burial tomb, they would say, may whoever passes by give me 1,000 of this, 1,000 of that, 1,000 this. And when you go to places like the temple of Ramesses II at Abu Simbel, you'll see, these edifices in front, which is where people would make offerings. So as I was going to there, I was pouring a little bit of water in there. I'm going to the temple to all said I'm pouring, because this is what we do to this very day. When you see people pouring libation, you can go to the block in the U.S. Somebody say pour out a little. This is the exact same concept, right?
So may whoever passes by do a libation.
Right, and it's saying, you would be blessed by virtue of that. So the idea is the same thing where you have an Aldun and Yoruba or Kwazidea amongst the Akan, that this is a time where people would take the eto, which is the mashed yam, and sometimes they'll mix in egg and red palm oil. And these are, you would sprinkle this out. And the idea is that the ancestors come and this is their desired food. So you're making an offering to the ancestors. So it's basically a family reunion. You wonder why black people like family reunions so much? Is because a family reunion isn't just, I see you, I see you. When the sun sets, does it stop existing? Does it?
No.
The sun still exists.
Still exists.
So by the same token, even though I can't see the person who's passed on, we know that they still exist. And this is what science tells us. Energy isn't created or destroyed, it's only transformed. And this is what we've been telling you for thousands, and not only telling you, this is what we've been acting on all throughout the entire African world. Right? There's a, last semester I taught a course, Foundations of African Thought, and I'll offer that again this coming semester. And the author of the main text we're using, that was Person, Divinity, and Nature by Chukwunyere Kamalu. He recommended a book on libation by Dr. Kimani Nehutsi, where he goes a lot into libation, and the ideas of, offerings and things of that nature, tracing it using text in Mdw Ntr, but then looking all throughout, the entire African world. Right? So Peret, this is going forth. This is the same thing you find in Peret in Heru. So that's the book of going forth by day. Right? So going forth, so it's like an invocation, like this is what I'm about to pronounce, the voice, the going forth of the voice. So bread, beer, to, okay. Correct, Harold. DF, correct, Harold. So D, give, and this is the give part. D is the give. F, this is the he. Correct, Harold. So that he may give a voice offering.
So it's spoken DF per Peru?
If you choose.
Okay.
Yep. That's how we articulate DF, correct, Harold.
Okay.
So Peret Heru is typical of 11th dynasty. So 11th dynasty, we're talking about Mentu Hotep. All right, the founder of that dynasty. I can show you some images so you can always have, the face to go with it. But if you think of the blackest of the black, that's when you think about Mentu Hotep. I actually took a picture in front of him. He made me look light skinned.
Like my Sudanese friend, that was making me look like a white woman.
There was a brother out of Sudan, and I saw a picture, and they had showed a color photo and a black and white photo, and you couldn't tell the difference. Like literally.
I know that's right.
And this is somebody who would call themselves Ramesses, born of the sun. It's like you would gloat about that, like I'm Ra this, I'm Ra that, I'm Ra this. You can't name yourself that and be without sun, and you can't even stand in the sun without sun tan lotion. So these are common offerings. So is bread, so you can see it abbreviated like this, or you can see it like this.
And the three lines, sorry, are they numbers or determinatives?
Plural determinative.
Plural.
So if you see them, it could be the number 3, but usually you'll see it at the end as a determinative.
So, which means we're talking specifically about bread and a lot of bread. Okay.
So ka, this is ox.
What's this symbol under the arms? Is that what I think it is?
Yes. A phallus.
Wow.
Very common. Seems very common. Shis, that's alabaster. And then you can see, so this is what you'll see when it's all combined together, just in short form, or you can see the full form, ka, and then the determinative, sh. So this is a sh, and then this by itself is biliteral, sh, right? Okay, so this is beer, so it could be by itself or it could be fully articulated, right? And this is where you get the full articulations, because in certain things you'll see only abbreviations, but when somebody knows what the full one is, they'll say, okay, you're just abbreviating it. It'll be like if you see DR written in front of someone's name, you know, I've seen it in other places long enough to know that that really means doctor. I'm not supposed to say Dur Carnita, right? So this is,
Or Merck,
Right.
or Johnson.
right. So aped, or you can have the full articulation. This a, did, and then this is the determinative. Ntr. Right? Now, some of these you'll want to come up with a mnemonic device. This is something to help you remember what it is, because it's a lot of information, but it's not so much when you realize that all of this is information that you already know. You're just rearranging it. So I was thinking about linen. So growing up, I used to hang out with a bunch of clothes horses. They love clothes. And one thing, again in the night, is if somebody says, oh, that's nice, oh, that's hitting. That is hitting. That's gonna hit. That's. So I was thinking linen. I was picturing my friends say, oh, mine hit. So mine hit, and that's how you get men hit, right? Of course, you'll find something else that works for you, because that's very specific to me. But try to think of, how can I remember this? Aped, why would I remember that? Aped for foul. So you can picture pedaling a bicycle and say I ped, and I pedal towards the fouls. So whatever you need to come up with just to make it stick, then once you come up, the more ridiculous it is, the more you'll remember it. And then after you remember it, you can discard all of those things, those silly things, right? But that's what I would do just to any language. So people say, oh, you're magical with language. I'm like, no, it's just a technique, right? So, ha, so 1,000 inside of, literally, well, 1,000 of is the way you would translate that into.
So the symbol again, that's the flowering reed.
Yes.
So in this third formula down, there's this 1,000 at the end in front of the flowering reed. So is this saying 1,000 flowering reeds?
No, where are you?
On this third formula here on the board, where we have the bird, that's 1,000. Oh, no, the symbol in front of the bird means 1,000. Okay,
Yes.
never mind.
Yes, that is 1,000. Ha is 1,000. That's what you see here.
Okay.
So, who can come up to this? I'll move it over small. Who can come up to this and tell me what the different parts are?
I'll give it a whirl.
And this is so powerful, because next time you go to Kemet, you're looking at it and it's not just pretty pictures. It's, I know this word, I know this word, I know this entire sentence.
Okay, so this is a voice offering. This is a determinative. No. This is a voice offering. I think this is a determinative.
Okay, so the peret, so
Correct.
the per is just like this in the house.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Right?
yes.
And
Correct.
that's to go out. So picture somebody going out,
Correct.
and this is like the going forth.
Okay.
By day. So here you have the house, we're going out. This
Okay.
enclosure, we're going out.
So per,
Right? Peret.
peret. Okay.
And
So
then-
this is bread. This is beer.
But now we need the heru. Where's the heru?
Heru.
You know the peret is the square looking enclosure.
So is this the heru?
Yeah, we go.
Okay.
Just like we were saying the Ma'ak heru, if you recall.
Peret, heru.
Mhm.
Peret, heru. So this is the going forth of my words.
Mhm.
So this is the bread. This is the beer.
Now, do we know the sound value?
Peret, heru. So peret, heru. He. Is that
Ha.
Ha. Che, hun, ket.
So where's the t? Where's the hinket?
Okay, so
And the half is
So I think this one is ha. No. This one ha. So no, wait. This has to be ha because it's repeating. So this is ha, ha, ha. No. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. Okay, so this is ha, then this one is this one. Hurt, harten, hurt, ha, ka, up, ha, shes, mhect. So I don't remember what these two are, but I remember this.
So the same thing you see here is the same thing you see here.
Okay. So then that must mean these.
Oh.
No, that can't
Ma. Yes, hello. Yeah, speaking. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Listen, I'm actually right now in class, so if I can call you right back as soon as we get done. I saw that you were just called, so I wanted to pick it up and if I can call you back. Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, so this is the full formula for
voice
first
offering
level.
of.
But when you see here, this is the same thing you see here. What does it look like?
Bread.
Exactly, that's what it is. That's what you have here.
Okay.
So ha is 1,000 of what?
Hot.
1,000 of
Handkit.
what's that?
Beer.
Exactly. So 1,000 of bread, 1,000 of beer. That's the exact same thing you see here: bread and beer.
Okay.
And that's all part of this whole complex.
Okay.
Right.
Hair. Ka.
Exactly. Same thing we saw up here, right?
Ka. He.
Ha.
Ka.
Right.
Akped. He. Ha. Shesu.
So which part is the shes?
Shes.
No. Only two options.
Oh, I thought Shes was linen.
Nope.
Oh, I know this is linen.
Yep.
This is alabaster.
Yep.
Okay, so then Shes
Exactly.
and Menet. Menhek.
So remember,
Shes
the
and
linen
hat.
is so nice, hey, man, it's hit.
Okay, I think of this as pounding the linen for some reason.
Okay.
Flattening the linen.
So now you have to find some way to get the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you can think, mine hit the linen, mine hit.
Manhet. So, Shesu, Shesu, Manhet. Shesu, Manhet. Okay. Ooh, my tonsils hurt.
Don't have them removed, you may need them. You're putting some on. This is the same cheru that we see here. Ma'ak cheru. Yeah. And other offerings. Somewhere. And I was thinking about this as some type of oil that when you put it on, it starts to get hot.
On the heat.
Right? So it's more heat. Whenever I put it on, it's more heat. Right? So again, these are things that I do so that whenever I'm thinking about the oil, it'll automatically come up, this is the sound value, then I can get the glyphs based on knowing what the sound value is. But of course, once you do this a few times, enough times, you don't even need to do that. You just already know Merheat, right? And then this by itself, let's move it over. This is mer. This is a phonetic complement
There's my H.
Exactly. And then you have the determinative. And this one is letting you know it's like a mass noun. It's something, you know, things that are uncountable. So it'd be something like saying,
Many waters.
yeah, or you could just say all of the money,
Okay.
right? Or all of the water,
Okay.
right? So you can have
A lot of air.
you can have a box of water,
Okay.
right? Now there's more than one bottle in there, but yes, a box of water.
But the water's not countable.
It's not countable, it's like a mass noun. So this is the same thing that you see here. You would think that, okay, well this is many oils, but it's just, this is part of the determinative to let you know it has that type of mass flavor to it. Hatep. Also based on Coptic, people will pronounce it as Hotep, right? Hatep, so this is a full articulation of it. Censure, right? So this is by itself, sin, then this lets you know it has something to do with, it can be minerals, it can be small pebbles, it can be any of those types of things. And then this is the nature by itself. So sin is coming, but because this is divine, right? Then this is a phonetic complement coming, the nature is coming before the rest of it. And jif or jifao provisions. So I got up at 2:30 in the morning to go to the office, and I got there at 4:30. And then people started skipping in front of me in line, so I was not happy about that. So I had to say several times, I have a class at 1. I had to get very insistent that I had a class, and then once I was insistent, that's where I went. If I wasn't insistent, I would be sitting there right now.
And then you got insisted sooner.
As soon as I walk in the door, just kicking it. Ah! Give me this. Give me my passport. I probably have my passport right now. I'll probably be traveling. Het things. Nebet. So, het nebet. So this is everything. Neferet. Right? Wabet. Everything good and pure. And that's a very standard formula. Ankhet nature in, on which the nature lives. Nkan, to the soul of Ima, the revered one. So when you go to the actual text, and then Ma'akhiru, and justified, or as many prefer, true or voice. So Ma'a being the true, and then Khiru is the same thing that we saw before in the voice offerings. It's easier to think about it in terms of true or voice, because if you actually know what the parts are, if you don't know, you can just say justified and be along with it. But once you know what the parts are, this is the Ma'a, true, right? Exactly. So, says in the mouth, per. So the overseer is like the word is with me, it's in my mouth. So if I tell folks to do this, they better do this as I did. So, in, mouth, per. And then this is the same per that we've been seeing, right? House, or in this case, translated as estate.
But here without the determinative, it's not saying a specific house, but the general house. Is that correct?
Overseer, if this is a title, it's not necessarily even referring to a house that myself, I am, or per, right? So whatever estate that I'm dealing with, I'm the overseer of that estate. Right? So, again, in, mouth, literally, and we have khanu. This is that's what we see here. That's what we see here. That's what we see here. This by itself is a new jar, so this has a two sound body, biliteral, new. This is u, then this is t by itself. This is the same that you'll see in the name Queen T, right? So T, and then the determinative to let you know it's talking about a chamber. So overseer of the chamber.
And it said Ahnuchi.
Ahnuti. Ahnuti. So Neb Abju. So Lord of Abydos. Neb Jedu, and then the determinative is coming underneath. And again, what I want people to do is to really get a chance to see the different parts of it. And to me, it's the greatest travesty to look at Mdw Ntr and just say, oh, look at the pretty pictures. And we just walk on. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. It's aesthetically pleasing as pretty pictures, but you have to understand what all the details are, what all the nuances are, right? So sit, this is place or situation. So sit, so sit, eat. Now in Obinna's book, Origin Commune, I'll give that as a short title. He goes through all these various African languages from throughout the entire continent and shows that they have words for heart that has something to do with it. And Igbo is Obi as the word for heart, and Akan is Bo, and he gives 15, 20 different languages from throughout the continent. Now, one of the challenges with Mdw Ntr, which is, I don't know if it's a challenge with Mdw Ntr, but more so the people who are studying it, is that when you have a person from a particular ethnic group, they will say, my language is Mdw Ntr exactly. This is the only one that hasn't changed my specific language, and that defeats the whole purpose, right? Because yes, you can see those correlations with Ewe and Mdw Ntr, but that doesn't mean Ewe is the only one. Because if you do that, what about the correlations that we see right in Akan, that we see in Wolof, that we see in Yoruba, that we see in Bochi?
Fulani.
Exactly. So to even do that is defeating the entire purpose of even looking at the Mdw Ntr. If you're going to do that, you might as well just stay in your fragment, doing whatever fragment things that you're doing. So I've heard a couple of people who they belong to a specific ethnic group. They are for the first time seeing that, oh, there are these links. My language is the only language that hasn't changed ever since 2,000 years, and it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So I want us to also avoid that. When we're seeing this, all human beings began in that same Nile Valley, between Nile Valley, Omo Valley, which are contiguous. Even at certain points, you had lakes that overflowed, and you would have water going from one to the other. All of these, the oldest fossils of modern anatomical humans come from that place. So it comes down to, it's not a question of did you come from there, it's when did you leave? You understand? Or for some, they never left, so they're still there. But this is what we have to understand. So to be like, my language is the only one that is, the thing, it's like, no, everybody came from there. All of us came from there. So now we have to start seeing the connections between the contemporary African languages and also the ancient African languages, and show those connections all throughout. and we have a purpose in doing that. I was looking at a video again by Ubenga, where he was saying we have to build African consciousness. We have to build it. He said, you know, it's not enough to have Hausa. He gave a couple examples: Hausa consciousness, Yoruba consciousness, because even some of these ethnic group names are very, very recent. When did Yoruba start? Before that, I'm Ekiti, y'all, you're Egba, you're whatever you are. But the Europeans say, all right, we're enslaving all of y'all, so all of y'all are that, right?
Or a person who's fluent in any one of these languages may still Europeanize themselves or Arabize themselves.
Yeah.
So now they speak the language fluently, read it, write it perhaps, but everything about their lifestyle and their appearance is Europeanized or Arabized.
And this actually was an ongoing, it's actually still ongoing on Mdw Mikasa, because we were talking about our Sekhanta jokes, right? So he's married to a white woman, he's wearing a suit and tie, so forth and so on. So for me, I would like to less be critical of those who have passed on, and for us to be critical of ourselves. To what degree am I doing that little white agent inside of me, where I say, oh, I just want this thing. No, I just have to have that taste for this. I just, you know. So these are the things that help us move forward, rather than like vilifying those who went forth. But if we were doing that, there are so many. You know, we could talk about Frantz Fanon, we could talk about Joke, we could talk about Kwame Nkrumah marrying an Arab, our very first imperialists. You understand? So all of these are problems. But, you know, once we start to understand who we are as African people, who our enemies are, then all of these things start to come in. So it's like Dr. Clark said, anything that crosses your path has to be a tool, an instrument of liberation. If not, it has to go into the trash can of history. So these are the things that we're looking at. So if we're learning Mdw Ntr, what are we looking at doing? Are we looking at just saying my ethnic group is the only ethnic group, sticking our chest and then what? And then now everybody's underneath me or what? Or are we starting to say, look, that means we have a common basis? You know, in the past, common ancestry, common descendants, common interests, common defense, common objectives. Now let's move forward, you know, and do that. So these are the things that, you know, we can keep in mind.
So if we're in a process, for me, I'm process oriented.
Yeah.
So I tend to comprehend best when it's a process approach. But anyway, as I'm listening to what you're saying, when we look at the life of Cheikh Anta Diop, Frantz Fanon, Asa Hilliard, all of these folks, it seems to me, going back to this whole, the essence of Ma'at, that what's happening is that we're looking at their life as a whole, in its holistic form, rather than the discrete parts of it. Because I was thinking when you were talking earlier, how you might be as a blessed dad. And so we would be saying, oh, remember when Dr. Obama would do this, and then he was always doing that, and remember how he would always make sure this and this and this. And this is what we would fixate on, and not, but he loved cotton candy, didn't he? He was always eating cotton candy.
I did.
You know, it wasn't that a problem that he was taking in all that sugar. Remember the cavities he had? You know, we wouldn't really, because that wouldn't be really the essence of your life and what we knew you were about, and how we were helped by you, and how the campus or the classroom or the pedagogy was moved forward by you by fixating on the cotton candy. So when we look at Cheikh Anta Diop, and I've advanced certain on some of these other folks, I don't look so much as, okay, here's what they ate, here's who they married, although I see it, I'm mindful of it, as much as I look at the contribution, how they advanced things. And then in my mind, I think that must be what this Ma'at was about. That when it was all said and done and the dust settled, you moved us forward. And not so much the discrete aspects. So as I'm learning this, the nature, that's what comes to my mind, particularly as they're moving characters around for the aesthetics, disposition,
Graphic transposition,
and the abbreviations and all of these things, that as this language just literally fluctuating and shifting, and we're reading like right to left, left to right, top down, but never down up, and all of these things. That's what it's about. It's like it's moving you somewhere, it's getting you somewhere, and that we shouldn't stay fixed on, but they wrote it this way in the 11th dynasty, but then they had it facing this way. That's not the point, is to get caught up on those types of things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what comes to my mind when I think about this language and the nuances of it and the dynamics of it, that when it's all said and done, what's supposed to be happening here, and it's moving us forward. Like I said last time, when I do this, something is happening to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to articulate it. I just know that something is happening when I do this. And as you and I were writing it on the board, what became clear to me was not how exactly you were writing it or how exactly I was writing it, but that we were in the process of writing it, remembering it, and then going forward with whatever they were going forward with. And I think Noctoplaya is the forward, even though it's the anterior, the ancient, but there's something about Noctoplaya prior to Kemet, the great-grandmother, if you will, of Kemet, that's somehow even moving all of this forward. So that's kind of what comes to my mind.
As you were talking, I was thinking about the process not only being of individuals, but the process intergenerationally. So if we're looking at those types of things, we say, okay, and this is again why I say it's less of focusing on those things that they did to vilify them, but if I really have a problem with it, how am I going to live now, right? So I would love if in the future, or maybe not love, if in the future say, well, why did he even speak English at all? But they would probably say it in Chi. I didn't know coming for cry. That if people are saying that, that means that they must have gotten to a level where they don't have to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? So even beyond the process of this individual's life, how they went from this up to that, you know, thinking I'm a French citizen, just, you know, hail France, liberté, to saying, all right, no, we need to do this for Africa. Okay, that's beautiful. Let's look at how far they took it. And now, for us, if we're going to take it forward, and I'm reminded of this idea that the best way to honor a fallen soldier is to pick up his or her gun, right? That oftentimes what we do is we get caught up walking in the footsteps of those who did whatever they did. So if, you know, Joe married a white woman and say, oh, we're going to be just like Joe, let's go marry some white folks. That's not the point. You know, he had the machete and he was cutting a path, right? So we could say, all right, let's just walk up to the point that he got to and say, all right, now I'm wearing my suit and tie and I'm married, I'm doing this, but I'm still doing Mdw and I'm still saying Africa needs to do. Okay, he took it, he was going somewhere. He's trying to get us to the river, and he got his machete and he took it however many miles that he took it, and then it was like, all right, I gotta bow. So now for us, we could either do and get exactly to that point that he got to, or we can pick up the machete and say, we're taking it further, so we're gonna marry black people. Well, I appreciate everything you did, I'm gonna take it further because I see the direction you were moving in. You didn't get there, I'm not going to get to the destination, but it's a thing about trajectory. Direction is more important than position, right? So if I have somebody who's, you know, somewhere in the States who loves Africa, to me, that is to some degree more valuable than somebody who has been in the village their entire life, but they can't wait to get across the Mediterranean to become the next white person. Look at the difference in trajectories. This one is trying to move towards Africa. See, I don't know anything about Africa, but I found this little ankh made out of wood, and I'm gonna wear this every day of my life. I love this thing. Look at that direction the person is moving in. Here's somebody, all they've ever known is Africa. Is, I can't stand this. I'm trying to get away. All right, so this is what 2000 Seasons, Ayakwe kind of dramatizes in the prologue, where it talks about those who are rushing headlong towards destruction. You have those who have already tasted the white death of destruction, say there's nothing there, and they're trying to get back to a way, back to our way. This is what we see, you know, going on. So again, the process is there, but for us, it's not to say let's focus or not focus or whatever. It's how do we take the essence and move it forward? How do we do better if we say that's not the ideal, that's not the destination, then we need to say, then what is it? And what am I doing to go further in that, direction? So again, not vilifying, but being very cognizant, as you said, and saying how can we move forward. And somebody can, critique, oh well, he didn't get an African laptop yet. As soon as I can get one. But all of that is part of my trajectory. I can't stand having anything not made by African people. But that internal thing is the reason why as soon as I can, I'm getting rid of this thing and I'm getting my African thing. Re-Africanization, de-whitenization. Re-Africanization, de-whitenization of all these different areas. Me, right, like the sun, the human being is perfectible, as opposed to the human being is flawed, original sin, blah, blah, blah. So entirely different worldview.
See, and based on what you're saying, that's why I think I have a comfort, there's a certain comfort level that I have with what you're talking about, because it's like if you're salt, then I'm cinnamon, and then maybe you are lemon or lemon oil. And we don't need to cancel each other out, and we don't need to try to all be the one thing, because the one thing doesn't exist in society. So as you de-whitenization, that saltiness has some utility for me, because there are times when salt and cinnamon are used together. There are times when salt, cinnamon, and lemon oil are used together. I don't have any problems with that. But when people begin to say, no, we all have to be salty, it's like, don't even go down right. We can't all be salty, or we can't all be cinnamon, or we can't all be lemon oil. We have, all of it is moving us toward a holistic way of being, but all of these things have synergy, and all of these things cogwheel together in their place, so that as you're talking, and in particular from a linguistic influence, I think about Toni Morrison, and I think in my head, now, what if she never speaks an African language? What she's doing with the English language is so mind-blowing, until it's like that's a medicine in and of itself, that she's reinventing and using this way beyond what they're even capable of doing with their own language. So then what I see is the inventiveness or the innovation of the African spirit and what we do to language, which then parallels with exactly what's going on here. So it buttresses my learning here because of what she's doing with the English language. And if you read her, and I know you have, the way she puts those words together, it's just like, who does that? My God. And she's just reinventing rules for how she brings adverbs and nouns and pronouns and adjectives, and it's just a work of art. In effect, she's doing Mdw Ntr with their language, in effect, because of how she's constructing it and deconstructing it and then reconstructing it into whatever it is she's writing. And then to hear her read it, it's just like, okay, it's just such strong medicine with their language. And in my mind, I think this has got to be one of the aspects of how profound we are as melanated people, that we can take someone else's language and break it off. We can take someone else's language and use it beyond its own confines. And that's what comes to my mind when I think of, what if she never speaks tree? What if she never speaks Wolof? What if she never speaks Mdw Ntr? It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. I think in the same vein is, for African people, what's our overall goal? What's our overall objective? So whatever she has done, however far she's taken it, again, do we say this is what she did, so therefore I'm going to teach my child only English so that they can break up? Right. So even my father has what's called the Kanban, where he's looking at all these different areas. So whether it's health, religion, politics, law, all these different things. And then looking at things that originate from African people, things that benefit African people, sort of like this. So let's say our gold standard, our paradigm, our Jessa rule, this is the sacred of sacreds, is something that originates from Africans and benefits Africans, right? That's like, we want things that we originate and things that are beneficial to us in all these different areas, whether it's health, politics, so forth and so on. then we can say, okay, you can say this is something that originates with Eurasians